Well, the bell is tolling at 2 p.m. here, so we're going to get started. It is wonderful to have everybody here today. This snowy and blustery December. I don't know how we're going to have a white Christmas. We may just have to imagine it or something. But I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas before we get started. There's been a lot of wonderful activities here at the cooperative during this month of December, starting off early in the month with the Christmas tea. How many came to the Christmas tea here? Leave your hands up. How many put your hands down if you didn't enjoy the Christmas tea? I've got you all confused here. I think everybody enjoyed the Christmas tea. It was an unbelievable production. Mary Beth Johnson from our staff, I think, did the majority of the organization of it, and I'm sure all or most of you have expressed your thanks and gratitude to Mary Beth, but if you haven't yet and you see her around the building, please be sure and give her your thanks and words of appreciation. A lot of hard work and a bit of angst went into getting all of that prepared, but it was seemed to be a lovely time. I was happy to be a part of it. I was happy to be able to taste some of the food. It was delicious. And it was just a very nice tradition that 7500 York Cooperative has here. And there are certainly other activities that have gone on. I think last night or a couple of nights ago, there was hymn singing or Christmas songs that were done here in the CAC. I would have loved to have been a part of that. I love the carols of Christmas. I have a hymnal up here to keep my laptop in place, but I love the hymnal and the songs that are in the hymnal for Christmas and for all of the other seasons that the church celebrates. I think it was last week that there was a turkey dinner. It's about 87 turkeys were roasted. There was about 187 people in the York room. There was a surprise. A man in red was walking around and handing out treats, and that was very fun to see as well. Coming up last week we had a staff Christmas party, and it is the first time that I have been with almost all of the staff. There's been a couple of other shorter events that we've had, or even just work functions where a lot of us have been together, but we had all but three there. There were three of the weekend night security team that were not able to come, but the rest of us were there. We don't often have fun together. We had fun on Friday, and I will just be honest with you. I have a difficult time having fun. I'm not the most fun guy in the world. But Jake from our staff, I think, had planned most of the party, got the food together, planned some games. There were a couple other staff members, Andrea and Michael, that had a lot of participation in putting together the staff party. But there was a large component of the staff party, and that was evidenced by the generosity of the members here at 7500 York Cooperative in giving gifts, very kind gifts, very generous gifts that were given to show appreciation to the staff at this holiday season, Christmas season. And on behalf of the staff, I just want to express our appreciation for what was done on behalf of everybody that works very hard here during the year. So we had a fun time. We had a time where we were able to benefit from your generosity, and just wanted to let you know how much we appreciate that. Coming up next week, Christmas. There's a Christmas dinner being planned in the York Room from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Get your reservations in for that. I'm sure it will be a very delicious meal. I just got to thinking, a lot of the members here are going to enjoy a Christmas dinner in the York Room, and I got to thinking of our York Room staff who are coming in on Christmas Day, taking time away from their families and their events to put together, cook, serve, clean, just to do a beautiful dinner for the members here at 7500 York. And please extend your thanks and appreciation and gratitude to all of those who are giving their day off to come in and do something kind and beneficial for all of you here. So Christmas Day, there is dinner, 11 to 2. Sign up for that. I understand as well, I checked in just before I came, that there is a New Year's dinner being planned as well, 11 to 2. I don't know what the menu is for that, but likewise, people are coming in from the York Room staff to put together dinner for the members here, and just realize, I probably don't even have to remind you, but I just got to thinking and just realized that so that the members here can have a very enjoyable time and an enjoyable and delicious dinner, that others are taking time off from their families and their activities to do that. And we just want to be thankful and gracious to them. Before I go any further, I would like to invite Kathy up to give a little presentation or an update on the organic recycling program. So Kathy, why don't you come on up? And why don't you stand over here in the middle?
All right. Thanks so much, Mitch. And thank you all. I promise I'll be really brief. I just wanted to take a minute to, on the behalf of Marty and I in the organic recycling team, to thank you all for participating in the survey that went out in November, and to tell you very briefly on the results. So we will have a complete, the study is being posted in the York Times for January, and it'll give all of them, we'll follow the format that the dining committee did, which was wonderful. They did a wonderful study follow-up, and so we're following that same format. But just briefly, we had 113 respondents, which was just at 33% of our membership, which was amazing. The only thing that is not going to be covered in the York Times, because there wasn't enough space, were the comments. And so I just wanted to take just a few minutes to acknowledge the comments that were made. By far, the most frequent positive comment was that people had a lot of satisfaction participating in the program. The most negative was the bags that we have to deal with. And any of you that are doing it do know that that can be a learning curve. So thank you all for taking time to do that. The other thing that we wanted to do was gather information for people who wanted to join so that we could make our guidelines available to everybody on a consistent basis. And we did have 28 people who said that they would like to be a part of the program but hadn't yet been able to join. And so we reached out personally and invited them to the January rollout. We now have 106 people who have decided that they would like to be part of the program. The only reason we ask people to do that is so that they can sign an agreement that says they will be part of the program, so that they will follow our unique guidelines. And the reason we have unique guidelines is, first of all, for compliance, and all of you that are in the program understand why, and it's very important. But the second I do want to reiterate is to be considerate of our neighbors. Even at 106 people participating, that's just under a third. That means 2/3 of the people in this building have not opted, and that's no requirement that they be opting in. What we want to do is be considerate of them. And if we follow the guidelines and bag all our compost in the green compostable bags and follow the guidelines, then we can be the most considerate and respectful of our colleagues, our other people who live in this building, because none of us lives alone in this building. As I said before, we're going to have our next rollout coming up in the spring. But if anybody wants to join this winter, I did want to comment that Marty Erberg has been gracious enough to say that he would be the contact person. Marty, you want to raise your hand for a minute? I'm sure most of you know Marty. But we do have some team members who have trained people individually, and they're still willing to do that. But Marty will be your contact person to send out to the team members, the people individually that would like to do it. The other reason we did it was to get questions from people and comments from people. We still have 10 months before the board has to decide on whether we make this a permanent part of our trash collection. 10 months to do tweaking and refining, and those questions that people answered were very helpful. Even though we hear a lot of people saying that they did not like the location, only 2 people on the surveys said they did not like the location, and 7 said they did. So if there are people who want to make comments, there is another survey coming out next October. Please give us your comments. The board needs that information to make a good decision. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so very much for your time. Yes?
Just a quick, when you say 106 people, do you mean 106 units?
Yes. Thank you, Jeannie. Yes, it's 106 units have agreed. Yes, out of 334, is that right?
337.
337. So just under a third.
And a little help to me, when you said we want to be careful to be respectful, help me out. What might I be doing that isn't respectful?
I'm sure you're doing it just by the guidelines. What I actually am asking people to do is make sure that they tie the top of their compost bags and keep them dry so that it does not attract little critters that bother other people, and not to put in the other things that may be mistaken, like plates and things like that, that those of us who have been doing it for a while know that if you were in a single-family dwelling, this would be acceptable as long as they were compostable, but we've left them off of ours so it doesn't confuse other people and make this just a trash bin. Thank you, Jeannie. That was a good question. Anybody else? Thank you. I want to return it.
Well, thank you, Kathy, and it's not often that I get to say thanks for bringing us a bunch of trash. Well, thank you, Kathy. Appreciate that. Very helpful. Just a couple of other things I want to bring thanks on. We have a transition that is going on in the York room. Ben Schneider has moved on to another facility with Morrison Living, and I just want to express my appreciation for everybody's appreciation to Ben and for his time here and what he brought to the York room during his 6 or 7 years with this property. I know that many of you were very, very generous and expressed your appreciation for that. And along with that, I would ask you to equally welcome Katrina, who is our new Director of Dining Services. Perhaps some of you have met her personally. I know the Food Service Committee members and the liaison to that committee have met her and had a chance to meet with her. And she will be spending certainly the next weeks learning the ropes of this particular property and the staff that she is working with and the clientele, the membership of the cooperative here that she is working to serve. So please extend to her your appreciation as well as patience as she gets to know this property. I would also like to just express appreciation as well during this time where we have experienced loss and grief with the death of Dan Lindberg, our bus driver. I know that hit all of us very hard. The staff and the members and perhaps even more particularly the members that Dan came in contact with on a daily basis of driving around in the bus and to different facilities, restaurants, medical facilities, stores, whatever it might be. It's never easy to go through an experience like that with somebody that you work with, that you care about, that is important to you. And I know that Dan was important to many people here at the cooperative, on our staff, and in his family that was well evidenced in the memorial service that was held for him last week. And I just want to express appreciation as well on behalf of his family for the generosity by members to help the family during this time. I also want to let you know that we have hired a bus driver for an interim period. And so this new bus driver, part-time, will be starting next week. His name is Chuck Sorley. And he is the former youth pastor and associate pastor at the church that I attend in St. Paul. And as a youth pastor and an associate pastor, he has spent many, many hours driving buses and vans of youth and all church members, including the senior group as well. And so he is very experienced. He is going to be, I believe, working Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I think Peter will probably be filling in on the other days. We are still hiring, for a full-time bus driver. We have a number of applications. We haven't done any interviewing for full-time yet. Michael will be doing that. But when we do hire a full-time bus driver, Chuck Sorley, the interim, is going to stay on as a casual bus driver so that we have somebody to fill in the gaps if the full-time bus driver is taking time off or is sick or something like that. We have somebody to call on that hopefully will be able to come in at a moment's notice and help with driving the bus. So just wanting to let you know that next Wednesday, December 27, Chuck will be driving the bus around. Now, he's not going to know all of the stops that the bus usually makes. So Shirley and Donna and everybody else who rides the bus, please lend a hand and let Chuck know where he needs to go and when he needs to be back. We have another vacancy, as you well know, and I should thank you as well for your generosity and kindness in saying farewell to Jackie. That has left a big void in our staff and among the cooperative as well. We posted that position rather quickly. just because we wanted to have the opportunity to fill the position, if possible, as quickly as we could. And I was a bit nervous. That position, Resident Activities Coordinator, is a position that has a lot of depth and breadth to the skills and the experience needed to fill that position. I was surprised by the number of applications that we got for that position. It was about 16 applications. A good number of those that had significant qualifications and skills to do that. We had a couple of applications that were really good, really outstanding. And Kathy Hall, as the supervisor of that position and as the hiring leader for that position for our Ebenezer staff, and I, as an additional hiring leader, we called those couple of people in for interviews. And both of them just blew us away with the experience that they had, that the enthusiasm that they had, that the how should I say, the skills and the experience that we could just check off. Yeah, fills that, fills that, fills that, has worked with committees, has done event planning, has put together newsletters, has worked with technology enabling to work with 990 and so forth. And so this has just kind of happened rather quickly in the past couple of days, where we finished up the interviewing, and Kathy and I had a discussion about which applicant we would make an offer to join our Ebenezer management team as the Resident Activities Coordinator, and we agreed on which one we thought maybe had just a feather of an advantage over the other one. And we put out an offer, and that offer, it just got news back this morning that this person has accepted the offer. Because everybody doesn't even know that here yet, because it just came in this morning through my email. And I wanted to share that with you because people are wondering what's going to happen with that. But the new Resident Activities Coordinator, still going through the onboarding and all of that HR process, but the intent is for this person to start on January 8th. So once all of the onboarding and HR work is done, I will bring specific information about that person to the cooperative, and certainly to the RAC committee, to the liaison, and all of those, so that you know this person who's going to join our staff and working with us on your behalf. And we're just very pleased to bring that news to you. Breaking news here. How am I doing on time there? Well, as you can see here, I have prepared a presentation for all of you here in person, those of you who are very excited out there in 990 land, about the reserve study that the cooperative has. What is a reserve study? What purpose does it serve? How does it benefit the cooperative? Why is it necessary? What is it? Why do we have that? Now you can see from my graphics up here, the reserves are money that the cooperative puts away to do replacements for the cooperative or to do building or expansion. So my picture here is a futuristic design of what 7500 York is going to look like in the coming years. We're going to be making a few improvements. We're going to be going upwards. So this is what you can expect to see as the years go by here at 7500 York Cooperative. Bear with me. What is a reserve study? A reserve study is a long-range capital planning tool that helps boards anticipate anticipate and prepare for the repair and replacement of their community's common assets. A reserve study includes both an in-depth analysis of the property's physical condition and a thorough examination of current reserve funds. The resulting reserve study report presents a prioritized schedule of capital projects and a reserve funding plan to offset future costs associated with repairing and replacing the common assets over the next 30 years. Well, that's a mouthful. Without trying to I'm not trying to embarrass anybody here, but how many of you, raise your hand, if you think you understand a reserve plan and reserve assets and reserve funding really, really well? 1, 2, a good 8 to 10 people. That's actually impressive because this is not easy stuff to understand. Who thinks they understand it a little bit? Kind of what it's all about. Well, that's a good number, and I hope that is because either prior staff or current staff have done a good job or a getting better job of explaining what this is and why it's important to a cooperative. It mentions here the community's common assets. Raise your hand if you could tell me what one or a few of the community's common assets are. Take a shot. Yes. Boilers. Very good and very expensive. Who else could tell me what a community or common asset is? The bus, very good. Any vehicles that the cooperative may have? The fitness room and all of its equipment and what it takes to renovate or refurbish it. A couple of others. The 990 system, yes. Grounds and landscaping. Landscaping, maybe not so much, but it could fall into that. Certainly anything that would be considered an asset outside that's replaceable would be a common asset. Anybody else? One more. The York Room. What about the York Room? The facilities, renovating it, all the equipment in it, the chairs, the tables, the kitchen equipment, all of those are common assets. So as you go around the building here, you are looking at common assets, things that can and should and need to be replaced at some point in the cooperative's lifespan.
How about anything that's not in your apartment?
Well, actually things, it depends on a cooperative because a cooperative can make decisions about what their common assets are that they prefer to take care of through a reserve funding plan or what they plan to take care of through the operating budget that is put together each year. So like in most cooperatives apartments, the appliances, the flooring, the sinks, the countertops, the cabinets, all of those would be considered common assets. that would be taken care of through the reserve plan. At 7500 York Cooperative, that is approached a little bit differently, where those are prepared for replacing them through the operating budget. But the way that you said it, things that aren't in your apartment, really are, it's mostly a true statement, how you put that. It would be things of a nature that you're replacing but not repairing. So if the boilers, who said boilers? You said boilers there. If you just had to replace a gasket, or you needed to replace just a small piece of something, that's not a reserve funding thing. That's a repair. But if you're replacing the boiler, or you're doing a major capital overhaul of the boiler, that would be a common asset, something that is capitalized. So very good. I am pleased to hear how people understand this. The components of a reserve study. There's the executive summary, including key findings, prioritization of near-term capital projects, and projected reserve fund cash flow over the next 30 years. And there's a graph here. And so if you look at this graph, I don't know how well you can read it from the back, or those on 990, but what's in green here is the recommended reserve contributions. So every year through the operating budget, there is one component, there's one line item of the operating budget, and that is for the cooperative to make deposits to your reserve funds so that you can pay for all of these big common assets, these things that are to be replaced over the next 30 years. And so you can see here, as time goes on, there's a slow but steady increase in the contributions that members as a whole are to make to the reserve fund. So you have that pot of money to pay for these big things. The red ones are for expenditures. So as you go through a schedule of 30 years of what you're planning to replace in any given year, it's going to go up and down and up and down. So in some years you have smaller expenditures that you're going to make, but you may hit these large ones here, and that may be replacing a roof. That may be working and doing the work on the water intrusion for the link and the waterproofing of the North Plaza. You have some really big ones here. It could be, at some point in time, replacing all of the brick siding on the building, replacing all the windows and doors. That would be years where you have larger expenditures. But there are certainly years where you're not doing any of those really large things, and that would be the smaller ones. This is not 7,500 Yorks here. This is just a sample chart. And then the blue line is your year-end reserve balances. So you're putting away this money all the time to be using for these big projects. And you notice that when you have smaller expenditures and your deposits, your contributions are slowly growing, you're building up your funds in your reserves that we have in the bank here. But then you have these years where you're making large expenditures for big projects, a roof, siding, water intrusion, whatever it might be, and the balance of your reserve funds starts to fall because you're spending a lot of money from your reserves. And then you hit these years where you have still expenditures on projects, but they're not the really big ones, and your reserve funds start to build up again. And then you hit these big projects again, maybe one year after another, and you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, or you're maybe spending $1 million or a couple of $1 million in a couple of years. What does that do to your reserve fund balance? Sinks it right there. It's just a chart to kind of show how that works. This is, and it's hard to read here, so don't try and read it, but this is one page of the reserve study. This top section here lists what the exterior building elements are, and I'll go to a close-up one that shows that a little bit better. This whole section here, interior building elements. Down here, building service elements, and it goes on a couple of more pages. So these are all of the listed components, the replacements, the common assets that the cooperative has that is put into this plan, and it's saying, how many of these do you have? How many are you replacing at a time? What's the first year that it's being considered? How many useful years does it have? So you have let's just look at one specifically here. Let me pick a good one. Cultural Arts Center renovation. We're sitting in it right here. This has a useful life period of 25 years. So when it's renovated, it lasts for 25 years. When you get to 25 years, then it's probably time to do a renovation again. Mailboxes, expected to last for 35 years. Good news, huh? How many years are remaining on what we have now? 23 more years. This is just a plan. This is a guide. Nothing here is hard and fast. And then over here, it lists how much it costs, and then what year is the current plan to do that replacement, going out 30 years. I've zoomed in a little bit more. I don't know if you can see it a little bit better. But the first one on here is the awning. If you look out, if you could see the awnings over the entrance to the building, that is scheduled to be replaced at some time. It was actually scheduled to be replaced a little bit sooner. Michael and I took a look at it, said it's still in good shape, but it needs cleaning. We're going to move it back in the replacement schedule a little bit because we can still get useful life out of that. But it's 600 square feet of material, it's the awning, useful life of 5 to 10 years. Where we put it on the schedule, it's got 5 more years of life left that we're estimated to cost around $21,000 to replace the awning. And then off to the side, I couldn't fit it on to make it big enough, but was the year that it's planned to be replaced. And so this is what the reserve expenditures spreadsheet looks like. It lists all of the different components, from roof to windows to ceilings to furniture to flooring to renovations of lobby and balcony area to boilers to all kinds of HVAC equipment, rooftop units. This coming year, we will be replacing a couple of rooftop units. Those rooftop units are the units that keep the air circulating from outside on the rooftop down through the building and all of the common areas. They're not working that great. That's why you notice at times that the hallways or some of the common areas are warmer than they are supposed to be, or warmer than is comfortable, or that some of the hallways are cooler than they're supposed to be. It's because our equipment on the roof is not working properly. We're trying to regulate it, trying to repair it. But a couple of those units, there's 4 up there, are due for replacement. We're planning to replace 2 this coming year. So all of these different replacement components fall on this spreadsheet. How many years they're expected to last, how much they cost, how much they'll cost when it's out 10 years, or how much they'll cost when it's out 20 years. So the inflation rate comes into play on this, because you can't just say, well, awning costs $21,000 this year. 5 years from now, when we're scheduled to replace it, is it still going to cost $21,000? Probably not. We have inflation going on. It might cost $23,000. It might cost $24,000 by that time. And this schedule keeps track of that. Any questions about this? Yes.
This is obviously a moving target. And so how do you go, is this an annual thing? It changes, it must change almost weekly, whether it's the inflation rate or whatever. How do you approach updating it?
I'm going to get to that, and it's a very good question. The question was, this is a moving target, and yes, it is. It's something that can change. These are all building components, and these are best, I hate to use guess, but these are best estimates by the firm that does this study, Reserve Advisors, of what this equipment is, how much it costs, how long it's expected to last. Well, you may have something on this list that you're saying is expected to last 15 years, but you get to year 14 and you're thinking, you know, we're scheduled to do a replacement on that next year. It's working fine. Are we going to replace it just because it's on the schedule to replace it? That would be foolhardy. So we would do an annual review of this, or at least every 3 years, and I will get to that a little bit down the line. It is a great question. This is not fixed in stone. This is meant to be reviewed and adjusted as needed so that the cooperative has a schedule, first of all, has a list of what the components are, has a schedule of when the expected replacement of those components are, and when it gets to that time of replacement, through the reserve funding, has the funds to be able to do it. Great question. Yes?
Does that tell me how much they spent for the mailboxes the past couple of years?
It does not. This would tell you how much the cooperative might expect to pay to replace them in the future. I wish I could have made this a little bit bigger, but this talks about the funding. Reserve funding plan that meets your community's future project needs and minimizes the risk of additional assessments. Nobody wants a special assessment. So what this shows up here, maybe I made a bigger, maybe I did. Well, look at that. I did plan ahead. This is the projection of funding that Reserve Advisors puts together based on all of these components, how much they cost, how much they'll cost in the future, and when in the future is the schedule to replace them. And so they're going to say, based on all of that was in that other spreadsheet, here's how much money you need to be saving year after year after year to be able to pay for those things 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, 10, 15, 20, and 30 years down the line. This is your funding plan. So here we are, year 2024. And why is this so important? They have recommended, they have put in this plan for 2024, $1,173,500. That's a lot of money. Where does that money come from? Look in the mirror. The next year, again, $1,173,500. 2026, $1,173,500. But then in 2027, it goes up to 1.2 million. So what does that show you? Who can give an observation about that progression? Anybody? It's a slow, steady increase in the funding that allows the cooperative to plan and to have the members, through their operating budget, be able to make the deposits to the reserve funds. So I was going to ask the question, I already answered it. Where will you find this number, $1,173,500? You will find it in the operating budget. And why is it there? The operating budget is primarily the operating revenue, the operating expenses, but here's this sore thumb of a $1.173 million. Why is that in the operating budget? That's what you've got to fund. That is the mechanism that the cooperative has to fund all of these big projects that are coming up years down the line, so that you're not getting to next year, 2024, and say, we've got to spend about $500,000 on 2 rooftop units. Where is that money going to come from? It comes from the cooperative carefully planning and depositing monthly, annually, over a period of a year, into the reserve funds, so that you have the money to do that, so that you're not walloped upside the head and knocked on your behind with expenditures of $500,000, $1 million for this or for that or the other thing.
But that doesn't mean that things don't come up that weren't anticipated. Big things sometimes.
That is correct.
And does that, how do you, is there built-in wiggle room?
Wiggle room. There is, and I gave her the questions to ask about this. No, the question was, what happens when there are unexpected things, and you might not have anticipated them, and is there wiggle room? Things do happen that are unintended, and is there wiggle room? Yes, there is, because by funding your reserves, you have there a big pool of money. Right now, the reserves for replacements, for common assets that the cooperative has, is a little bit north of $6 million. So what if something unexpectedly goes out and we got to spend $40,000 to replace that, but it wasn't in the schedule until 10 years from now, but unexpectedly it went out. Where are we going to get that $40,000? We're going to get it from the reserve funds. And we're just going to adjust our replacement schedule. It's the benefit of having that large pool of money that, yes, year after year it needs to be evaluated and adjusted so that you can be realistic with what your replacement schedule is and the funds that need to be there to do it. There is a large degree of flexibility with this. Does it mean that it should be messed around with? No, absolutely not. This is a carefully crafted plan for all of the components, the cost of them, the useful life, the schedule, inflation, the increase, the interest that you might be gaining on your pot of money that's in investments or in the bank so that it continues to grow. But you don't want to be messing around with it. This plan has a certain degree of fidelity to it that if you say, well, let's rob Peter, the reserve funds, to pay for something that's an operating cost, then you've messed with the integrity of this and what funds you have available for all of your replacements down the line.
Is this a new plan, or have we been historically contracted with these people? And, do you have your new hands on this, or did you walk into a pretty good plan? I don't know how to ask this exactly, but.
So the question is this a new plan? Did I walk into a good plan? When I first saw this, I was really intimidated by it. I'm very familiar with reserve plans and how this all works. This particular format I find a little bit challenging to read because of how it's laid out, but I've become accustomed to it. All of the components are there. I don't particularly like the layout of the spreadsheet, but you can work with it. You just got to put your reading glasses on to kind of get through it. But it's basically the same thing in a different format of what I have worked with before. It's good that the cooperative has this. The last one that was done before I came was in 2020, because you should have one done or updated at least every 3 years. My recommendation to the board, which was accepted, is that we do an update every year because things are changing quickly or can change quickly, your previous question. And for at least the near future, I would like to have an update done more often than 3 years. Because you have the opportunity to switch things around in your schedule, to adjust costs, so on and so forth, to be real time with your cooperative. In the reserve study, there's not only the spreadsheet of all the components and schedule, there is not only the funding plan, but there's about 100, and I think there's more than 100 pages, of detail. What are the replacement components? Is it a refurbishment of the fitness center? Is it something to do with the retaining wall? This will come as, something like this will come into play with the water intrusion. Is it the boilers? The boilers are on the component list. I think about 4, 5, 6 years down the line for replacement. That is, I think, a 7-figure replacement if both of them were to be done. But anyway, there's page after page showing pictures, diagrams, giving detail, giving recommendations of what is to happen with all these different components. So going back to your question about, when is the reserve study updated or changed? And so this is just a chart. I'm not going to go through all of the chart, but when the cooperative initially had their reserve study done by reserve advisors, they had this first one done, a full reserve study, level 1, most expensive. What we had done this year was a level 2. They came on site, they did an interview with me, with Michael, then the inspector went around the building just checking up on everything. And what will happen this next year, less expensive again, a couple of $1,000s, is called a reserve study update without site visit. So we'll just do some things through email or telephone call to make some adjustments, fine tuning of the reserve study that we have. Okay, put on your listening caps. I'm going to read this here. It's a lot, but I just thought, if anybody wants a copy of this, please don't everybody want a copy of it, but we'll put this up at some point soon on the member portal. But this is why we have a reserve study. Every cooperative has three functions: to serve as a business, as a government. Who's the government? The board of directors, and as a community. A cooperative is a nonprofit corporation functioning in many ways as a business with revenues. Those are monthly dues and other various fees and expenses. As a business, the board needs a business plan for the maintenance of the cooperative's assets. Which assets or parts thereof, for example, partial pavement replacements, that'll be happening in a couple of years out here, phased renovations, lobby and balcony, will require repair or replacement, when and at what cost. These are the most important questions one must ask in determining a forecast of future capital needs. When managing the contributions, monthly assets, so your monthly fee is a monthly asset, assessment, monthly assessments of hundreds of member owners, it is essential to provide as accurate a forecast as possible through the reserve study. Professional firms, such as Reserve Advisors, that the cooperative hired back a few years ago, and again this year, have the expertise to determine the most reasonable reserve budget consistent with the board's objectives. The benefit is that present and future members are treated fairly and equitably. As an example, special assessments are typically conducted because those who lived in the cooperative previously did not pay their fair share, and as a result, current owners have to pay extra. That's the benefit of a reserve study, is having the plan of the components and the schedule, having the plan of funding the reserves so that you can afford all those things on the component schedule when they need to be replaced. A professional reserve study, as was done by Reserve Advisors for the cooperative, is a continuous blueprint for the future. Board members frequently change, and while future board members may not understand the logic or reasoning behind prior decisions that were based on internally conducted reserve studies, some cooperatives have tried to do that. I don't recommend it. A professional reserve study firm will be available to discuss their study, the methodology used, and considerations that went into the analysis years after it was conducted. It's all there on paper and in pictures. Also, the independent reserve study provider can help future boards with periodic updates, that's what we'll do this year, to the original reserve study to ensure the cooperative remains on track. This is very important for a cooperative to have and to make use of. I would just like to be open and honest. All of this information is here. While I know it, I did not come up with it on my own. All printed information used in this presentation was sourced from Reserve Advisors and their website, and you can find this same information on their website that's there. Very important topic, one that cooperatives don't talk about enough or explain to their members enough. Board members, I felt it important that you as member owners are aware of what this is and why you have it, what it is, how it serves you, how it serves the management company. And we are running very close on time. We're going to be off of 990, right? Oh, I've got 15 more minutes. Oh, that's dangerous. So I'm going to take maybe a couple more questions on the reserve study. And if there's more than a few, then people can come to me afterwards. I'll hang around for a bit to answer questions. Yes?
How is this $6 billion invested so that moving forward, we can be pretty assured of having funds to operate?
That's a very good question. So the bulk of the funds, some of the funds, a smaller portion of the funds right now are with National Cooperative Bank as a part of the loan that the cooperative took out a few years ago. There's also a smaller amount that is with Wells Fargo that's very liquid, that goes out from our operating account before it gets transferred, where most of the funds are to Schwab, and most of the funds are handled by the firm called, what's it called now? Corient. And it's an investment firm that has an investment policy that is approved by the Finance Committee and the Board of Directors to invest these funds to help them continue to grow. Any other questions? Hearing no more questions about this, I will hang around. Yeah, you make an observation, then Jake, if you can come up to the front here, because Jake has a quick announcement.
I just want to make a quick observation.
Why don't you come over in front of the camera?
Right. The cooperative, of course, has done this in some ways for a number of years, and some of you have been on boards years ago. But I want to say thank you, and you should know that the last 3 or 4 years, thanks to our previous boards and to the leadership of my colleague George Fairdup, we engage reserve advisors, and I want to publicly let you know to thank George for his leadership on this project. That's been very helpful. That's all I got.
And Jake, come on up. Jake has promised not to take more than 2 minutes.
I'll be a lot shorter than he was.
Yes, you are.
Oh. All right, so I've gotten a lot of feedback about one call. Thank you for all of it. So we're at this point now where the onus is really on you as the member. You got to give me your phone number if you want to be contacted, your email, however you want to do this. This is how we're going to be contacting folks going forward. We had filter change this past week, and we just sent it through the one-call system. We did not send out any paper notices. And we want to start doing that because that will reduce our operating costs for all this paper and will make things a lot easier to communicate things to everyone. So, if you have given me your phone number, or your phone number is in the old directory and it hasn't changed, but you're not receiving anything to your phone, and I'll repeat this, you need to text the word alert in the message body of your text message to the phone number 22300. So I'll say it again. If you have given me your number, or your number has not changed in the directory and it's a cell phone, and you're not getting messages, you need to type the word alert to 22300, and then you're enrolled. If you want your cell phone enrolled. If you don't want your cell phone, we can always do a landline, but we're really going to start moving forward with this in January and trying to contact you in this manner rather than a bunch of pieces of paper. So it's really important, if you're not getting these communications, that you visit with me, that you give me information so I can make sure that you're getting the notices that you need to get. And then this January, we're going to have 2 or 3 days, I think it is, on the activities calendar, going over BASE right here. I encourage everybody to come to one of those days so I can show you how the new work order system works and try to get everybody acclimated to submitting their own tickets. Any questions about that? Yes.
When is the last
Unfortunately, Mr. Lindbergh's passing. That was the last time I sent communication. Mr. Lindbergh's passing, the bus driver. And that's the last time I sent out a mass communication to every single person.
I got one earlier, but not that one.
Okay.
So did something get loose there?
I don't think so. We'll have to look at it and just check. But no, I don't think so. Your question. Yes, I plan to try to get it recorded and we can play it on 990 going forward. So trying to get everybody on the same page with that. Any other
So
questions?
the information that Jake gave for you to text, alert, and then to such and such a text number, we will post that on the bulletin boards in the elevators, because everybody's not going to remember that.
Right, and I'm going to also put it on the table upstairs for 990 so they can talk about that, but I wanted to announce it here before putting out a bunch of other paper information about it after. So,
If I'm following you, are you pushing text as opposed to email?
it's whatever you want, honestly, and that's something I think everyone here needs to decide. Do you want to be email? Do you want to be landline? Or do you want to text? It just depends on what information you give me and what you're comfortable with. So it's ultimately your decision how you want it to go.
Well, could you ask this group how many people use text? I'm curious.
How many people here use text? There's a lot more than I think maybe you thought. So yes, it's whatever you want to do. You just have to let me know what you want and I can set the parameters going forward. Yes.
Landline. I have landline that's in the phone book, and I have not gotten any calls from one call.
Okay, we just have to check and see if like what I had in the directory, maybe the number is different, was misentered, whatever. But if you're not getting communication, just come on down and we'll get it changed. It takes seconds to change contact information.
So everybody heard, flood Jake's office, form a line, and be sure, this is, I joke about it a little bit, but this is important going forward. We're in the, not the testing phase, but the phase where we're trying to see how it's used best and to get members comfortable with it and to make sure that everybody who wants it, and I'm saying everybody, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't really matter whether everybody wants it. Everybody should have it. We are trying to move away from paper. We will not do that entirely, but it's really important to make the cooperative more efficient and have less costs going forward, less costs that are passed on to the members through the operating budget to be able to work with a lot of things electronically as we can. Let me just make a couple of more announcements here and then we will be wrapped up. As you notice, I don't have any quiz questions today. It just, the time didn't allow for that. One thing I wanted to mention, there was a couple weeks ago, we had a political candidate and a campaigner in the building. There were questions about that. The cooperative has to allow that. They called us in advance, said they were coming. I informed security that they would be coming. We have to allow them in to go around and knock on doors. I hope they're not obnoxious. They shouldn't be obnoxious. They're sure not going to get a vote if they're obnoxious. But I just want to let you know that by Minnesota statute, we're compelled to let them in. You don't need to answer your door if you want. You don't need to and probably shouldn't allow them into your apartment. You also don't even need to talk to them if you don't want to. Just politely decline and close your door. Yes?
The person who came to my door, I could not see through the peephole. He was leaning against the left-hand wall, and he used my first name. And my first name is not on my door.
It's probably in public record that he had your name. Everybody's names is in public record. But I would just say, if somebody comes to your door, whether it's a political candidate or anybody, and you are not sure who they are, you're uncomfortable with it, just don't answer your door. Okay. Entry into units. You've received at least some floors, the ones that are currently getting the filter changes and battery changes. Management and usually maintenance occasionally needs entry into your units. Advance notice will always be given for those sorts of things, but entry may need to be made even if you are not home. And that will be a part of the advanced announcement that even if you are not home, we may need to come into your apartment to do this preventative maintenance sort of work, filter changes, battery changes, annual inspection. It's something that is provided for and permitted by your occupancy agreement, what everybody signs when you become a member. Please check. It's towards the end of the occupancy agreement where management has the right to come in and do this kind of work, because everybody's apartment unit is owned by the cooperative. While you have the pertinent right through your share to live in your apartment, and we surely want to respect your privacy, management does, and mostly maintenance of the management team needs to come in from time to time. Just running through a few things really, really quickly. North Plaza and Link, there's no update at this time. East elevator lobbies, I believe all of the painting has been completed. I think they might have to complete a couple more things with a few sections of wallpaper on the sidewalls and the floorboards if those are not in. The York Room walk-in cooler freezer, that is all finished. Boy, that was quite a process. And then I think that's all I have for that. And then just letting you know that the York Room is open for Christmas dinner on Christmas Day, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. York Room is open for New Year's Day dinner on January 1, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please make your reservations. Thank you, everybody.